Hi everyone, and welcome to week 2, day number 3 of my ChessGoals study plan. I'll put a link in the description below to ChessGoals study plans. The way they're set up, it's a 12-week plan, and each day you get sort of a day-by-day checklist of activities to complete. So I have mine printed out here, and then each day I check off the activities as I get them done. And this is something new that I've just started for this plan. And I've done something similar to this in the past for a study plan that I was running. And I wanted to share this with you guys so that you could set up something similar if you want to. And I think this really makes the method a lot easier because you can just highlight specific things in your games that you want to look at and then go hone in on those games. So what I did here was I created a spreadsheet. And I'm a huge spreadsheet nerd if you haven't figured that out. And I separated this spreadsheet by color. So this first tab I'm playing white in 3-minute games, and the second tab I'm playing black in 3-minute games. So let me kind of highlight what this is showing. In the first column, I put the week number, week 1 or 2. You could put the date here, but I just wanted it to be a little bit less work, even though there's still a lot of work going on. Then the next thing I did is I put a link to the game analysis. So when you're on your chess.com profile and you see the list of games, you can click on the game analysis, go right to the game. And the nice thing about that is I can always go back, pick out a game, and jump right to it. So I can very quickly go in and say, okay, I want to look at just games where I had mistakes in the opening, click those links, and go look at the openings directly. The next column I have is if the players have a title or not. This is just something that over time I'm going to be interested in to see how I do against players with different titles. And then here we have the rating of the white player, so this is my rating in the game. The rating of the black player. And the reason I do that is because I want to look at the rating difference, which is over here in column N. Because if I'm playing someone that's, let's say, 100 points higher than me, I may want to look at that game differently than someone who's 100 points lower than me. And in my mind, I'm thinking, eventually I may put some of this stuff into statistical models to help me figure out different trends. And it'll be something that I definitely want to adjust for, the difference in the ratings. Column F, I'm looking at the opening name. So I'm doing just broad categories, Queen's Indian, King's Indian, Catalan if it's open or closed, Benoni structures, and we have a Tarrasch here. And the reason for that is because I want to highlight, as we get more data, if there's certain trends based on which structure I'm looking at. So maybe in the Benoni, for example, I'm struggling with tactics, or in the King's Indian, maybe I'm struggling with early middle game strategy. So that's something I wanted to note. Then column G, I put the result. And across this top row, you can see I'm averaging the result. So scoring 65%. And that's something that I may want to track over time as well, right? So let's say I have 100 games in this column. I could highlight the last 10 games and say, okay, I'm 8 out of 10, but my overall average is 65%. I'm doing well. Or maybe I just create a running average over time once there's dozens of games. Then this is the main reason I wanted to start this. I was thinking that there might be trends in the Stockfish evaluations based on the phase of the game. And the way I wanted to do this was I was thinking I would log the Stockfish eval at every 10 moves. So when I'm in the game analysis, after you've already run the report, you can click on the analysis button, and what I'm doing here is I'll just click move 10 and then write down this eval rounded to the nearest 10th. So I'll just put 0.4. And you don't have to be too accurate because it'll average out over time. And then I'll click move 20, jot down that eval. And one thing that I do to make this simpler is I click and drag the windows. I won't show that now, but in Windows you can highlight a tab and then just snap it over to the right-hand half. And then you could take your spreadsheet, snap it onto the left-hand side, and then you have 2 tabs side by side. And you can easily just go back and forth. So whatever process works best for you, but that's what I do. So then after having all these evals logged every 10 moves, what I did was I looked at the median of those columns. So when I'm playing the white pieces at move 10, based on about 10 games, I'm starting up at 0.1 eval. That seems about right. You know, white has a 0.1 or 0.2 eval usually. I think I should try to get that a little bit higher. You know, I think with the white pieces, I should try to outplay my opponents a little bit in the first 10 moves if possible. Now here's something really interesting. The median at move 20 is minus 0.3. And this is with the white pieces. So I'm losing 0.4 of a pawn eval between moves 10 and move 20. And then at move 30, when the games get to move 30 or longer, I'm at a minus 2 already. So with the white pieces, I'm trending the wrong direction. I should have an advantage more often than not, you would think, based on 65%. So there's something funny going on here. I think what's happening is I'm tending to win games early with white, and if the game goes on longer, I'm getting bad positions, or sometimes I'm just getting lucky and flagging my opponents when I don't deserve to win. The position is bad on the board, and I'm just getting the flag. All right, so then the next thing I did in column O, I put a grade on the game. And this is a scale 1 through 5, 5 being the best, 1 being the worst. And that's just based on my feel. So an example of a 5 is a game that I feel is very smooth. So if you look at the chart here, I had a small edge, increased the advantage, went on to win the game pretty smoothly. So a 5 to me is sort of like a perfect game. You know, maybe there are some critiques I could find if I really wanted to nitpick, but I'm really overall happy with that game, and I don't feel that I need too many improvement takeaways from those games. I can focus on the other games with lower scores. And then an example of a 1 is sort of the reverse. You know, I just got crushed out of the opening, and my opponent held that advantage the rest of the way. Just really had no chance in this game once I made some couple mistakes. So that one did not feel good. And then the next thing I did was I went back through all these games, and I'm logging takeaways. So these columns, P through T, are takeaways. I'm either making tactical errors. That's the most common thing I'm noticing with the white pieces. And in a lot of these games, I have also noticed that my king is exposed when these tactics occur. So there's something where I'm just not comfortable with the structures I'm getting with the white pieces. And then 3 times I've noted early to middle game strategy. So this is kind of that same thing we looked at back here. Somewhere around move 10 to 20, I'm struggling to find good strategies out of the opening. I don't have a good feel for these positions. This is something where I'm working on the repertoire right now for white. Very early phases, but I want to build a Catalan repertoire. And I'm not getting great positions out of the opening currently, so it's definitely something I need to keep working on. These other issues, other takeaways are not happening as often. Oversimplifying the position, a strategic isolated queen pawn position that I didn't play very well, and opening theory. This is sort of just memorizing moves out of the opening, recalling theory. So with the white pieces, I think there's 2 things I need to work on: tactics and also early to middle game strategy. And I think these are combined in just the sense of not getting a good feel for the position. So tactics, a lot of times we make tactical errors due to something in the position. And if you feel uncomfortable, if your king is vulnerable, you have loose pieces, those types of things can cause tactical issues. So it's not always just, oh, I made a silly mistake. A lot of times there's a reason why you made that mistake. So this is something that I'm going to dig more into later. Why are these tactics occurring? Now let's look at the black pieces. With the black pieces, I'm not scoring as well, 58%. And on average, I'm 93 points higher rated than my opponent. So I'm scoring better with white against stronger opponents. But I actually feel a little bit happier with how the results turned out for the black pieces. So what's happening here is white is getting a 0.6 advantage by move 10. That means I need to work on my opening theory. You can see column P, this happens 5 times out of about 10 games. And this is openings that I just made a repertoire on. Caro, con, caro, con. 2 more caros. So it's actually all 5 games where I need to work on opening theory are in the caro. So one thing I'm going to do for this is I already put my caro, con repertoire into Chessable. I'm going to start training those a little bit every single day because I really want to get that opening theory down. And something that I've always struggled with in chess is memorizing moves. I'm not very good at memorizing moves. But that's something that I want to do a good job on with the caro, especially for blitz. I want to be able to memorize those first 10 or 12 moves and give myself the best chance to get close to equal by move 10. And then if we look at this trend, move 10 to 20, I'm pulling the game towards my way. And over time, it keeps trending that direction. So with the black pieces, I actually have a really good feel for the positions overall. I think I'm outplaying my opponents after the opening. So as long as I'm getting playable positions, I'm doing well. And almost all of these games are caros, which is interesting. There's only 2 Slavs. The rest are all caro cons. So everyone, for some reason, is playing e4 against me in blitz, which is good. I mean, that's what I want to see because I haven't made the Slav repertoire yet. The grade for these games, I'm averaging a 2.8 with the black pieces and a 2.8 with the white pieces. So very similar. This was a rough stretch. I definitely started out playing a little bit better than the last few games with the black pieces. And it really feels like I'm 2 different players with white and black. So with the black pieces, I'm struggling with the opening theory, a little bit with tactics, 4 games. And those tend to be games where I did okay on the opening. But for some reason, I'm... But then there's this other trend that's creeping in, oversimplifying. What this means is I'm looking to trade off pieces too often. And when I did my other version of the study plan, must have been a year ago now, 1 or 2 things that I noticed in my play is I was oversimplifying quite a bit, but also I was failing to develop my pieces quickly. I think I've sort of overcome the developing the pieces too slowly because I think about it all the time now in the opening. I'm always thinking about developing, and sometimes I will develop a piece when there's a tactic available for me, and I miss the tactic because I'm focused on developing so much. But the second thing I had noticed in my previous study plan was that I oversimplify. When I'm nervous or I feel the clock is ticking, I can't find a good move, I just look to trade. Really, that's not something I should be doing because oftentimes when you're the one that tries to force the trade, it can tend to benefit your opponent. Usually you want them to be the ones to trade. So that's just something I need to think about going forward. Now, one cool thing I can do with this spreadsheet, and this is definitely what I'm planning on doing, is if it's a certain type of day in the study plan, like let's say it's a tactic day, I can click these links one by one where it says tactics and just go into key moments and retry the mistakes. So I can just go game by game and go boom, 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 retry those tactical mistakes. And that can be a really quick way to reinforce the moves that I had trouble with intuitively the first time through. And then over time, it's almost like a woodpecker method. I can just keep doing those same tactics on the games where I had a tactical issue until I get better and better at those positions. Or let's say I'm on an opening day. I can just go into opening theory, pick out all those games, and go check them at one go, right? So I'm not necessarily going into the openings right now and picking out where I deviated from the repertoire, but I can go back in all in one pass. So like I see days 6 and 7 this week is a lot of opening review in my study plan. I'm on day 4 currently, day 3. that's when I can go back through and work on all these openings at once. Or if it's a strategy game, maybe I go pull all the games where I'm oversimplifying. Or with the white pieces, I could be looking at the early to mid-game strategy column. So this spreadsheet is going to be a really handy way for me to go back through and figure out what I want to work on. And now that I have the spreadsheet set up, it should only take me a minute or so after each game to just go through, enter these things in, go to the next game. And I'll put a link in the description to give you guys access to this spreadsheet. So what you can do is just make a copy of it or download it and format it for what you want. You don't have to do everything the same as me. And definitely you will have different takeaways than I do. Maybe you don't care about the rating difference or the grade. Make the spreadsheet work for you. All right, so I will definitely be showing more of this spreadsheet in the future. Please like this video, and if you want more content from us, click the subscribe button, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.